Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to draw this snowman, and as well as a how to draw video. This is going to be a Crayola challenge, so after I sketch this in pencil, I'm only going to use Crayola colored pencils. So I'm just going to sketch 3 circles for the body of the snowman, and each circle will be larger than the one above it. I'll sketch 2 lines for the arms, an oval for the brim of the hat, and then a cylinder-like shape for the hat. Now I'll sketch the scarf, which is just like almost like a rectangle shape that will wrap around the neck, and then 2 other shapes that just hang down off of that, so like a scarf that would be knotted around. So now let's move on to the colored pencils. To start, I'm going to take a black colored pencil and just go over all of the line work so far. The good thing about these colored pencils is I was able to vary the thickness of the lines, although I did have to go over some of the lines more than once to do this. The lines aren't completely solid even if I press hard, but they're smoother and thicker than lines with a pencil might be. I would still have preferred maybe going over these lines with a Sharpie that's fin tipped, because that's what I like to go over lines with usually, or maybe a pen or something. And now I'm just going to carefully erase the pencil marks that were not the colored pencil, and then go over the line work on the face. I made a little bit of a mistake there on the brim, but that's alright because I'm going to fill it in almost completely with the black, so you won't notice how there's 2 lines there. And then a little more erasing. Now I am going to break up the scarf into sections and just draw curvy lines going down. And then these are just going to follow the sections of the scarf. I'm basing this scarf off a scarf I drew in my last video. I painted that one, but for this I'm just going to stick to the color pencils. And now for the arms, I'm going to make the bottom line a little thicker because all my shadows are going to be going downward and to the left in this drawing. I also add some fringe to the scarf. Again, this is based on another scarf I drew in a previous video. It's just a smaller version of that. I erased the fringe because I thought it was too dark for such a small detail, but it wouldn't erase completely, so I'm going to have to draw it anyway. There's some dots for buttons, and then for the eyes, I didn't fill them in completely. I left a little bit of a white dot. So this makes the snowman a little more cartoony and less realistic. Some dots for the smile, and the ones that are closer to the center are larger, and then a triangle shape for the nose. Now I'll fill in the brim of the hat completely, and for the rest of the hat I am going to shade lightly and then add more detail later. A good thing about the color pencils is depending on how hard you press, you can get more than one color out of the same one. As you can see with the hat, how it's more gray right now. For the arms, I started by filling it in completely with orange, and then I took a light brown and went over the bottom edge. And then I took a dark brown and went even closer to the bottom edge. The way I'm going to shade this drawing is with a bunch of like ombre effects. So you see how it goes from the very light orangey color to the light brown to the dark brown. Now I'm going to just shade in the scarf completely with a light red, not pressing too hard yet. And I went over the lines of the fringe again with black. Again, I thought they were too dark, so I took a white colored pencil and just went over them a little bit to make them lighter. If I did this drawing again, I probably wouldn't add the fringe at all, just because the scarf's so small. Now I'm going to take a reddish purple color that's like a dark red and go over every other stripe of the scarf. This pattern is still based on the scarf I did previously. It's funny because they were both red. Then I'll take some light red and go over the other stripes. I think the contrast between these stripes is bigger in this drawing than in the version I painted though. For the nose, I'm going to take yellow and fill in completely. Then I'll take some orange and fill in almost the entire thing except leaving a little stripe of yellow. And then I made a little line to break up the nose and make it look more like a carrot. For the hat, I'm going to fill in the center completely. Then fill in closer to the sides, and in between that just make it a little darker, and this will give it some shading. I also took a white colored pencil and just went in between the brim and the rest of the hat to try to make them separate a little more. I also filled in the dots in the eyes with white just to make them pop a little more. Now I'll add some shading to the snowman in general, starting with a light blue, although this blue isn't the lightest that I'm going to use. Still a little dark, but it's not purple either. And I'm just going to go around near the edges of the snowman, and towards the left I'm going to make that darker, and then I'm going to fill in other parts of the snowman too, but when I'm not near the left at the deepest shadow, I'm just going to press a little lighter. The reason I chose blue is because it's a wintry color, and there wasn't many colors to choose from with the snowman, since snowmen are white, but the shadow depends on the type of lighting you have, so I figured blue lighting because it's a winter day. I also gave the snowman a shadow going towards the left at the bottom. Then I took a purplish color that's close to blue, and I went closer to the edge to make the shadow. And like with the arms and nose, I'm kind of doing an ombre. I also added a little shadow around the scarf with this color. So you'll see how it goes from the purple to the blue to even lighter blue, like an ombre effect. And this will just allow the snowman to look more three-dimensional. I had purple around the shadow at the bottom. Then I took the lighter blue and just lightly shaded over the snowman just to give it a little more color. Then I made the other part a little darker. The thing with the color pencils though when I did that is it looked like little blue lines instead of going on smooth. I'm not sure what would have looked smoother though. Maybe paint if it was watered down, or maybe pastel would have been interesting as well. Although I liked how this looked, I think the ombre was an interesting way to add shading. Although I couldn't really get the colors to blend. I could get different shades out of the same pencil and that would blend, but if I wanted to blend two completely different colors, it didn't really blend together the way paint or pastel or anything like that would. But even though it didn't blend, I think it still ended up looking pretty cute. And although even though it didn't blend, I was still pretty impressed with how the final drawing looked. I would say it blends better where you're pressing harder. So if you have two colors that are both dark, they'll blend together better. Same if you have two very light colors. But if you have one color that you're pressing much harder, it's not going to blend with another color where you're pressing lightly. Which is one reason I varied the darkness of each color like this. So I would press very lightly over here, but then towards the left press harder with the same color pencil. And I just kept switching back and forth between that purplish color and the lighter blue, adding both to the shadows all over the snowman. I also touched up the brown on the arms a little bit and on the nose, so just going back to things I already did to touch them up. I added a little bit of blue to the shading on the hat. And right when I thought I was done, I decided to add even more color. So this drawing took a little less than an hour to make, somewhere between an hour and 40 minutes. And most of the time was spent shading. And here is the final drawing. You can find more how to draw videos on my channel Variety Girl 1 or click the card to view a playlist of how to draw videos. I upload new videos every other Thursday. Thank you for watching.